Hey there, I'm Gabi, and welcome to Gabbing with Gabi. In this series, we sit down with fellow YouTube wet on wet oil painters and give them a chance to put down their brushes and to talk a little bit more about themselves. This is a great opportunity to get to know them on a deeper level. Our guest on today's show is the star from the YouTube channel Painting Delight. Without further ado, could you please introduce yourself?
Well, hello everybody. My name is Anastasis from Painting Delight, and I'm very happy to be here with Gabi. Thank you, Gabi, for inviting me over.
Absolutely.
Well,
Okay.
it's a great honor to be here. And before we start, I'd like to tell to everybody that I have checked your channel and you really have some amazing videos. So I hope from this interview, people will get to know more of you, okay?
Awesome. Thank you. You as well. Okay, so let's get started. I guess I will ask you, where do you want to say where you're from?
Yeah, I am from Greece. I live in Athens. And, it's a nice country in here. It's a very popular destination for vacation, especially. And, I just love the climate here and the food, of course. This is our highlight. I always try to keep away my nationality or other stuff like this from my channel because I want to focus on painting. But this video is a very good chance for everybody to get to know me better. So that will be nice.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little about your preferred style of painting. You do wet on wet oil painting.
Yeah, I paint using the wet and wet oil painting technique, which I got to learn from Bob Ross. I first watched Bob when I was around 10 years old, and tell you that I was watching him with a Greek dub above his voice. So it was not, for me, this relaxing and very nice show that most people get to know. It was always painting for me because I used to paint as a very young kid. I used to paint little trees and houses and all this, just using my markers. And when I was around 10, I got introduced to him from the television series. And, a new world coming to me like that. And I really wanted to paint like him. And after years and years that have passed, I decided that I wanted to do my own show on YouTube and people will get to know more about this technique.
Mm-hmm. Um, so Bob Ross does a lot of landscapes. Is that something that you prefer to do yourself as landscapes?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally in love with landscapes, especially the ones in the USA, where you live. And, I always look at photos online and on Instagram and in different, sources. And I'm not so fond of portraits, for instance, because I think that we belong in nature and I want to bring some of the beauty of nature to my painting. So I really focus on painting landscapes, especially, woods and mountains and all these.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. So we'll get started with, I guess, our main body of questions. So how long have you been painting?
Well, I've been painting for 2.5 years now. I got some equipment in August of 2020, and I've painted over, well, I actually have painted nearly 300 paintings right now. But I dare to say that in the start, I had lots of difficulties because of the equipment I was using. I was using very cheap canvases and I had a very cheap easel. So I dare to say that my progress has been delayed. I mean, for the first 100 paintings, I was struggling with, a solid base because of my easel. And then I had some canvases that didn't have the right surface to paint because people must know that if they want to paint using this technique, they have to buy the right equipment. This is very, very essential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I've probably bought 10 or 15 easels, and it's like I finally got a decent easel, and some of them
Yeah.
I can still use for other things, but it's like a lot of wasted money. So yeah, I totally understand that. Is there any specific reason that you chose to start painting when you did? Was there anything special that was going on in your life or anything?
Well, I'll tell you a funny backstory. As I told you, I had been painting as a kid, probably from 5 years old until 13. And in the start, I was using my markers and those colored pencils and stuff. So until I got introduced to Bob, I bought my first painting kit, with oil paint. And I tried to paint like him, but it was very difficult because I had no guidance or anything except the television show. So I probably painted for nearly 2 years and then I stopped, because I entered my teens and I was more interested in music and sports and stuff. So in 2020, it was this situation with COVID and that we had to stay at home and all this. And although it didn't affect me a lot because I was working anyway a lot of hours, I just was having a look on YouTube and I got a recommended video of Bob. And I clicked the video and saw him do his own thing after more than 10 years. And something inside me told me that, man, you have to do this again. This is where you belong. So I got the inspiration from just a video recommendation on YouTube. And then I decided that I wanted to start over, and it was a great feeling for me, definitely.
That's awesome. I think we all have our own paths to it, so I love hearing how other people sort of, got into it.
Okay.
How long do you think, you talked about having like a delay, but how long do you think it took before you started to feel like you were mastering oil painting and it wasn't like you had no idea what we were doing? How long do you think that took?
Well, I'll tell you something. As I told earlier, I'm painting for 2.5 years now, and I am nowhere the master level because every time I paint, I find out something else and I see where I struggle and where I don't. So I just try to keep improving and being better and all these. So I only uh, think of myself being just a good painter probably after I got my current easel because it's a very solid base where I can paint without having any problems and apply the techniques on the canvas in the right way. So it was probably after a year, I'd say, that I actually got to say to myself that, yeah, you're doing it and you're doing it right. So let's say that was 1.5 year before our current interview.
Okay, yeah. I yeah, I know exactly what you mean too. Yeah, absolutely. When you first started oil painting in 2020, was there anything that really was easy for you?
Well, I think the easiest part for me has always been holding the equipment. I don't know if this makes sense, but I mean, the way I was holding the palette and the knife and the brushes and all these just came so natural to me. I had absolutely no problem loading the brush or loading my knife with a roll of paint or something like this. But when I really had problem was with applying the right pressure and the right edge of the brush or surface of the brush on canvas. For instance, I remember my very first painting in 2020 where I painted a mountain, just a classic Bob Ross scene with a mountain, the blue sky and blue water and all these. And I remember I tried to make this note break on the mountain. And it was very funny because it was just like icing the cake, remember Bob saying that? It was just this exact thing. So yeah, I think I was very good at handling the equipment, but didn't know how to use it, if this makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It's yeah. I think we all have that. Again, I think we all go through that. That was kind of my next question. If you had any really challenges, is there any like specific subject or anything or like technique that you're still like working on today, or you want to learn in the future that you don't really have down yet?
Well, I totally don't like seascapes, although I'm living in Greece and the sea is not far away from here, and we're a naval country and all this. I never enjoyed painting this big crashing wave or the waves, in the background and all this. I don't know why, probably because I don't see myself there, you know. I always prefer painting scenes that are deep in the woods with paths and, you know, big mountains on the background, big foothills. You know, I just love layering the foothills in my paintings. And, you know, I'm just very fond of leafy trees and all these evergreens, of course. And that's what I'm trying to show to people on my YouTube channel, that whatever you feel like painting, just do that. You do not have to be, you know, compromising with other artists on how and what to paint. So just go on ahead and do your own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so is there any like products or any certain paints that you really like over other ones or certain types of brushes?
Well, that's a huge topic that I love talking about. And I have recently found out, probably some months ago, I'd say, that the best possible paint to use is the Winton paint from the Winsor & Newton series. And the reason I recommend these paints is because not only you can find the same color tones as in the Bob Ross, you know, product line, but it's also that's a very cheap and very easy to find product. And it's very, very good for me because I can actually go to the local store and buy the tubes and not have to pay lots of money, for instance, to buy from Jerry's Artarama, you know, in the USA, which is a very popular uh, product. You know, how do you call this? A shop, you know, in
Yeah,
an
yep,
art shop.
yep.
And yeah, it's just the best for this technique. It's very firm, very dry, not oily at all. Beautiful color tones, and I highly recommend this kind of paints. And when it comes to brushes, knives, palettes, and all these, I just think that what we have to pay attention to is buying natural bristle brushes. Well, currently I'm using the Bob Ross line that I have since the very first day I had bought my equipment back in 2020. And I'm absolutely not changing those at the moment because I feel like these are, you know, part of my body. You know, while holding them, I feel very, very nice and all this. And I sometimes just tidy them up on my table and look at them, and I see, you know, here's my equipment and all this. And yeah, you know, some people can't afford this product line, so if they can find a different product line like Kevin Hills, I think that Kevin Hills it's a very nice product line that people can buy all over the world. And I don't think it's that pricey compared to the Bob Ross ones. But seriously, the most important thing is saving here because this is a very expensive hobby. And I'd prefer someone to buy a good quality canvas than a very expensive brush or paint. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, just a side note, Wint is my favorite oil paint as well. I love the Winton.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and I didn't know that they were, easier to get in other parts of the world. I know what we can get in the United States, but outside of this, I never know, what is available. So,
yeah. I tell you that when I first started painting, I just sent an email to the Bob Ross company and I asked them for equipment because I tried to find the Bob Ross product line in my country, and there was nobody here having this kind of equipment. So I contacted them, and they were more than good to offer me, you know, the equipment I wanted. And I actually remember a couple of days after I got the equipment on my hands, there was a very good art shop in the United Kingdom where they had the product line, and I got a huge facepalm, and I was like, why didn't I find it in the first place? But where I live, it was very difficult to get. So when I found out that the Winton series works the same way, or even better, I dare to say it's the best value for money paints. So when I found out that they work just fine, I'm completely switching to this brand.
okay. Awesome. Okay. So let's see. Inspirations. Do you have any artists that really inspire you or that you really admire?
Well, I'll tell you, obviously, my biggest inspiration is Bob Ross himself as a painter. I mean, still, I'm watching his shows on YouTube, and every time I watch an episode, it's like seeing him paint for the first time. I'm completely blown away from the effects, from the techniques, the colors. All these are just so great to me, and he is the biggest inspiration as a painter and as a person, of course. Then I would definitely say Bill Alexander, his mentor, because without Bill, we wouldn't have this technique. Lots of people don't know that, but we actually owe Bill Alexander everything, right? And as for other artists, I dare to say some of the current wet and wet oil painters. I dare to say that Bram Bevins is one of my favorites, if you are familiar with him, of course. He's a great guy and an excellent, excellent painter. I love his paintings and his color tones. Whatever he paints is just so realistic and vibrant, and it really makes me feel good. And from the old masters, because when I was young, I was having some small magazines about the great masters of painting and all these. I say Van Gogh is my favorite, and I'm also very fond of Claude Monet or Rembrandt. These are just artists that were way ahead of their time, and nobody will be like them. Obviously, I cannot paint like them, and I don't feel like painting, using those techniques and the traditional style and all this, but I just love their work. And it's something that young people like me and even younger should get to know if they want to, get started with painting and art in general.
Mhm. Those are some of my favorite painters too, especially Claude Monet. And yeah, I can't
Yeah.
paint like, but I really admire him. Let's see. So, do you sell your pieces?
Well, obviously, I'm on the hunt for the happy pack, as Bob used to say. But there are lots of things that we have to have in mind before wanting to start selling. For instance, I had an Etsy store for nearly a year where I had probably around 24 of my pieces, and none of them sold because, even if it was advertising, people didn't get to probably enjoy the paintings I had there for sale. And also the problem is where I live. I mean, I had a painting sold to a very good friend in Scotland some months ago, and the poor chap had to pay double the price because of the distance, the shipping and all these. So, for instance, if somebody in the United States wanted a painting of mine, they'll have to pay more money and probably double and triple the amount of the painting they would probably get over there. So it's very difficult when it comes to shipping because there are lots of expenses. And as for selling, currently I have sold around 8 paintings, I think. And this is more to close friends around here or colleagues. And then there is a good friend in Scotland that has supported me in a very good way. And I try to advertise anymore from my Facebook page. I have closed my Etsy store because I thought it was no use spending time about it. And I want to focus on my Facebook page and advertise more and have people probably buy a painting or two.
Mm-hmm. And do you do any like we have like art markets and art fairs and stuff like that? Have you ever done anything like that or not?
Well, I had an art fair in mind in my country here in the center of Athens, but mainly it is because mainly this art fair was about abstract art and fine art and all these. So I met a girl from the head of the gallery, and I showed her my paintings, on Instagram and all these. And I didn't see her being fascinated or anything, but she said that I was welcome to do my own exhibition or anything. So maybe in the future I get to do an exhibition or something like this. Otherwise, I don't have enough free time to spend to find somebody who makes art fairs or anything so I can promote my work here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, yeah. And I can imagine, like you said, in the United States, there's so many people, and you know what I mean? It's so much easier to ship stuff. But once you get into, smaller countries, and I can see that as a challenge. All right, so let's move on. If you had any advice for a new painter, what would it be?
Well, first of all, I want to invite everyone to try and paint using our technique. And the biggest advice I have to give is not to be let down if you mess up in the start. I mean, some people seem that they cannot do it, or they are very stressed over doing it and they just give up after doing a couple of paintings. And this is totally not the case. I mean, the most important thing is to be focused, don't be stressed, and have the right ingredients and materials. And over time, you will get used to painting like that and create your own, masterpieces and nice, beautiful landscapes. This is the biggest advice: is being calm, being okay with yourself, and have the right equipment. This is very important.
Yeah. Um, if if you could go back and tell yourself something, like what do you wish you had known when you first started that you know now?
Well, I probably had to do a thorough research about where to find the equipment and what kind of equipment to have. For instance, a big topic about me is the easel, because I just had a regular wooden easel installed, as I told you. And there were lots of times where I was painting, and I'm sorry about that. And my canvas was just falling from the easel. It wasn't sturdy at all. So the thing that I should have bought from the start would be a very strong and solid easel. And then you come with the paints, the brushes, and all these. The cleaning procedures. I mean, I'm using odorless thinner to clean my brushes. And most people know that this is toxic and all this, but I have tried to minimize the fumes and all this toxic, in the air by purchasing an air cleaner. Yeah, I was about to say an air dryer. What?
Yeah, an air
Yeah,
like an air purifier.
yeah, exactly. That's the word. Yeah, air purifier. And it's very important to have something like this if you're not painting out in the balcony, for example, because currently I'm painting in my room, but I always do a thorough cleanup after I've painted, so I can guarantee that the room here is pretty safe to paint. So what else I use is that I use a very small, I like a bucket, a Bob Ross bucket that I have a screen on the bottom where this is what I use actually to scrub the brush and remove the excess paint. This is very important to have because, over time brushes tend to lose their hair and their effects and all these. So the best way to maintain them is by cleaning them thoroughly and storing them in a very good place. So yeah, these are the things I'd say that I'd like to know from the very start.
Yeah. Um, is there anything that you would say that's sort of unique about yourself as an artist, or that you do in your process?
Well, I don't think I have anything unique as a painter. I tell you, I do not value myself very high as a master of this kind of painting. But what I think that I have a skill of trying to, how do you call, inspire others and try to bring more people to watch the show, because I try to do this in a relaxing way and in a very friendly way. And I also believe I'm a good teacher. I mean, I can spend lots of hours with somebody and, try to teach them in details what they need to learn about the technique. So I think that as a teacher and as a person, I have a small edge compared to others, but definitely not as the final, product, the finished painting. There are lots of other artists on YouTube, and some that do not have channels at all that are much, much better for me than me.
Yeah, we can't compare ourselves to other people though. And I have to say, like, because I've been through your YouTube channel a lot, and one thing that I've really noticed about your work is you have a lot of variation. And there's some artists out there that they paint beautifully, but it starts to seem like it's sort of the same thing over and over again. And I don't see that in your work. And I think that's really something special.
Yeah, well, before I start a season on my YouTube channel, I always break down every episode. I have every painting done beforehand, and I always try not to paint the same scene over and over. For instance, I might have 3 or 4 black canvases in a season, and I try to vary the medium and the time of the day or the year. This is very important because people think that we people that paint like Bob Bros are painting only mountains and trees over and over and over and over, which is absolutely not true. And it's probably the only thing that makes me angry when I'm talking with others. And I mean, Earth and nature in general is never ending, and there are lots of color combinations and things that you can combine in a painting. So I'm trying to do this in my show and show people that there are lots of different things you can do and in a very short and easy way. That's why I'm always trying to differ every painting from the other.
That's awesome. And it shows, it really does.
Thank you.
Outside of oil painting, do you have any other hobbies?
Well, this is another big topic because, my profession is a confectioner. That means I make sweets and stuff and pastries. And this is also a very, how do you call this?
It's an art.
Productive. Yeah, kind of art, and it's very productive too. And apart from that, I like playing in musical instruments like the guitar or the bass. I've been playing bass for 14 years now and guitar for around 8 or 9. Although I dare to say I'm not as good in music as I am in painting or obviously my work, confectionery. And I also loved, until a certain age, watching sports. I was a massive NBA fan and a massive football fan. But right now, I'm more focused on music and my job and painting. So I spend more time with my instruments and my painting.
Okay, awesome. Um, Looking to the future, do you see yourself painting long term, or do you think it's something that you'll do for a couple of years and then put it away? What do you think?
Well, I'll definitely try to paint until I can't paint no more, if this makes sense. And I certainly won't give up like the first time I did in my life. Back in the day when I was very young and I wasn't very good at it, I could see that, for instance, my relatives and all these weren't that happy with the outcome, because everything wasn't in the outcome that it is now. But right now, I have completely overcome this thing. So I will keep painting even if I'm not having an art page, even if I'm not on YouTube. This is something that I'm doing for me, and it's probably the best way for me to put my thoughts and what I have in my heart on canvas. This is very important, so I'll definitely keep painting.
Yeah, awesome. Um, okay, one question. And so my husband actually, we talk about questions that I should ask, and he said, this is the question you should ask him. And the question was, it's written down here, do the natural surroundings where you live sort of inspire you?
Well, I'll tell you, I live in Athens, which is the biggest city and actually the capital of Greece. And there are over 5 millions in this city. So the thing is that we have lots of huge buildings and flats and houses and all these. So where I live, there are not a lot of big trees, or the mountains are not that close, or the sea is not close to us. So the biggest inspiration that I have from my surroundings, which actually I have talked about a little bit in my latest episodes, the ones I have filmed these days, is that there are some very beautiful trees around, like the ones I nearly always paint in the foreground of my painting. I always paint 2 or 3 huge, not leafy trees, huge bark, and so these are very inspirational for me because I actually walk in the pavement and I can see these trees being my friends, as Bob used to say. So I try to transfer them into my world of painting. And I really think that even if I go to, near mountain or a big forest or something, I will get even more inspiration and I'll try to add more things in my painting compared to the things I have now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, do you do any photography at all? Like when you go out, do you take pictures of stuff or anything like that?
Well, at times I really want to take, my phone or my camera or something and just start taking pictures. I'm very fond of the fluffy white clouds because we have those a lot in here. And I used to upload some of them, as a story on my Facebook page or something. And yeah, I like taking photographs, but I'm not interested in photography in particular. So I just, take pictures and watch or see photos online that I add to my personal files on my computer, and I use them as an inspiration.
Awesome. Okay, so do you have any sort of final thoughts as we wrap up this interview that you'd like to speak about?
No, I think we went through every aspect of my, art life and some of my personal stuff. And I was really happy to be here. I totally enjoyed it. And once again, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me in. I hope people get to like this interview. And hopefully we will get more people to get to paint because this is my ultimate goal. When I started my YouTube channel, what I had in mind is that I'll try to inspire more people to be like me. And I mean, putting their thoughts on canvas and enjoy their art because, around me, I do not have lots of people being related with art. I have some that are musicians or, sort of like this, but I don't have any people paint. So I always try to get them to paint and they say, oh, I can't paint like you. I don't have the talent or I can't, I'll draw a figure or a straight line and all these. And I'm always like, you don't need to have any talent and all these. For instance, in my Facebook page, some people comment that I have a great talent and all these, and that's totally not the case because I just have a big desire to learn and apply the colors and the things I want on my paintings. And this is what other people should do. Not be afraid to get themselves to paint because they might need to be artists for their own reasons, but they're afraid. So my ultimate goal is to help them overcome their fears.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really inspirational. I love that. Okay,
Thank
so as we wrap up, let's talk about where people can find you online. Your YouTube channel being at Painting Delight, Facebook at Painting Delight, Instagram at Painting Delight. Is there any other place that people can find you, or is that pretty much it?
No, that's all. I used to have the Etsy shop, as I told you, but right now it's closed. And I had made an account on Pinterest at some point, but I'm a bit of a technophobe myself, so I haven't paid my a lot of time with Pinterest. So maybe in the future I will get to spend more time with it and also try to share my artwork there. But Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook are the places that people can easily find my work. Yeah.
Awesome. Super. Super. Okay, guys. Well, that's it for our show today. Thank you so much for coming on. I've really appreciated it, and it's been a lot of fun getting to chat with you. And maybe in the future we can do another. Down the road we can do another interview sometime. I think it would be fun. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
obviously.
guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just very thankful that you invited me over, and I definitely love to do a future collaboration or something. So we'll keep in touch anyway, and let's see what the future holds, right?
Absolutely. And if I ever make it to Greece, I'm going to contact you. I travel a lot, so if I
Oh,
ever make it
for
there,
sure.
I will contact you. Absolutely.
Great. I'd be glad to.
Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, if you want to put them in the comment section of either of our videos, as we'll be putting on this on both of our pages, definitely do that, and we'll both try to address them. If you guys could like, share, and subscribe to both of our channels, that would be absolutely amazing. Until next time, I really do hope that you fall in love with oil painting just as much as I have. Bye, guys.
Bye bye. See you.